Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. And today, here in the worldwide headquarters of the Planetary Gig Society in Studio One, I'm really very excited and happy and pleased to be able to welcome the goddess of awesomeness, Tara Gorman. Hi, Tara.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. You are one of the co-founders of the Planetary Gig Society. It was your we've been talking about this kind of thing for a while, and you said one day, let's do it. And so we did, and here we are. And, I think we have a number of good things to talk about, but just wanted to ask you a little bit about, kind of music in your life. And I know you're an Up With People person, and we want to talk about that too. But, I mean, when you were growing up, you grew up in like Chevy Chase, Maryland, I know, and was there music in your family? Did your parents play music? Did they play music on the Victrola or anything?
Music has always been a part of my life, and it's interesting that you bring this up because I just got off the phone with a good friend who has a recording studio, and my grandfather was a singer-songwriter, and
Wow.
He used to sit at the piano. He could play by ear, and my dad, when he was courting my mom, he and his friends, they would sing barbershop, and they would gather around the piano, and my grandfather would play these songs that he would write, which were fabulous.
Wow.
And so now that I'm older and I have children of my own who are musicians, and especially my son JD, who plays everything and can sit at the piano.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
And he's never really taken piano lessons, but he can play much like my grandfather. And so we started talking to him about my grandfather, who he never met. And in a couple weeks, we're going to get together with those, once teenagers singing barbershop who are now almost 80, and they're going to record my grandfather's songs with my son playing the piano. So music has always been part of my life in various ways.
Wow, that's going to be pretty special. So did you play instruments growing up? I mean, yourself? Did you take piano lessons or whatever?
I took piano lessons for a minute, but we had a player piano, and it was much more effective just to pump the pedals, and it sounded great, so I did not stick with it. I also played flute for a minute. But then when I was in high school, I was in an all-girls Go-Go's cover band, and I played the electric bass. So that was kind of my
Wow, I didn't know that.
Big musical playing an instrument thing.
Yeah, you always liked dance too, didn't you?
Yeah, and we looked fabulous. We didn't sound that great, but we looked fabulous.
Well, that's a lot of it, So when did you how did you figure out about or find out about Up With People? When was that?
I was going to school in Ireland. It was a semester abroad program, and I was in Galway, and the skies opened up, and it was a torrential downpour, and I just ducked into a bookshop, and I ran into some Up With People cast members, and they were telling me that they were singing and dancing and traveling around the world and getting college credit for that, and I thought, wow, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
So the next day I interviewed, and I was accepted. And
the next day?
Yeah, the next day they came
Wow.
to my school, and so it was great. It changed my life, and I actually got college credit by singing and dancing and traveling around the world. And some of my best friends are my cast members.
That's amazing. So about what year was that, and what did you actually do? So, I mean, it must have been like another semester later or something, right?
So we started in July of '86 and went for a full year, and it was a cast of 150 people from the ages of 18 and 25 from all over the world. And there were 5 casts simultaneously, so we all gathered in Tucson, Arizona, where we were sorted and by talent and lack thereof, and dancing, singing, playing instruments, being able to move a little bit, basic cast members, and also by look and background culture, so that we were 5 homogenous cast in our diversity, if that makes sense. And it was a great experience.
So for people who don't really know, I mean, I remember hearing of Up With People years and years ago, I mean, decades ago, maybe even the 60s or 70s, and not knowing much about it. So you had 150 people, and that was not just singers and dancers, but the lighting crew and the musicians and everybody like that?
Everybody.
And could you describe just sort of all right, you're in one city, and then what did you do? And then
so when I was traveling,
the
program has changed a lot. Now they stay in one city for a whole week. We were there for maybe 2 days, and you'd go in, the cast would split up, half the cast would go do community service. So you'd go to a school, and you'd talk with the kids, and perhaps it was the first time they've ever met someone from Belgium or Japan or Stanbury, Missouri, for example. Or we'd go to a nursing home, or we'd do something in the community, and the other half of the cast would set up the equipment and set up the stage for the show. And so then we do a 2-hour show. We lived with host families. During the course of my year, I lived with 90 different host families.
How many?
90.
90 different host families.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess, yes, if it wasn't a week at a time, 2 days at a time. So you were traveling all the time with these people. Whew, that's some good bonding stuff going on there.
Yeah. One of the best things about the program is you have to learn to get along with everybody, all different types of people. And that's a skill that takes you far in your whole life.
Yeah. And let me ask, it was founded by, could you talk a little bit about that, in the 60s?
Yeah, it was founded in the 60s, and my understanding is it was a time where the climate was down with this, down with that, and Blanton Belk and his buddies, the Caldwell brothers, decided they would start something that was up with what? Up with people. And they would go around and sing songs about peace and understanding and getting along. And the idea is, if these kids from all over the world can get along despite their differences, maybe the world can too. And that's still the message. And the message is just as important now, if not more important than it was when it started. And what's amazing is the songs that are written, those that were written back in the 60s are still topical now. And the songs now, they bring in things like global warming and refugees, and it's just an amazing program.
And so it's been going on for 50, 60 years.
Yeah, 50-some years.
50-some years.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. And, we had the Planetary Gig Society was a sponsor of Up With People, and they came through not too long ago. And that was a big eye-opener for me. It's like, wow, there are people been doing this Peace Through Music thing for a long time. And the cast members, we had 4 stay here. They were intelligent. They were dedicated, diligent, very nice, easy to get along with, and hardworking, all from different areas. It was quite impressive. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. But I want to ask more about sort of your trajectory. So you did the Up With People, and then you came back to real life.
Yeah, then I came back to DC, and I became an aerobics instructor, and I worked at a place called Intelsat, and I joined this band that they had, and that's where I met my husband. He was an amazing guitar player, and so he and I met in a rock and roll band.
Nice.
And that was a pretty great way to start a relationship. And
yeah, so you've been in DC. You actually decided to go to law school, become a lawyer.
Yes.
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 Michael, your husband, was a guitar player, and he was playing guitar and doing his thing.
Yeah, so we were living in a 1-bedroom apartment in DC, and I decided it was time for me to go back to school, and I went and I got an MBA and a JD. And Michael continued to play music, and I kind of put it to the side a little bit, so that I could, have this great professional career. And we had children, and music was always still part of our lives together. But he took the forefront because he had some serious talent, and I just have no shame, so I don't mind getting up on stage. But he was an amazing guitar player, and so 8 years ago he died of cancer, which was really a tragedy. And in order to keep music in the home, because I have 5 kids, the youngest of whom was 3 at the time, and I wanted to make sure that they understood music and they understood how important it was. So once a month we would gather Michael's friends and have a music night, and we still do that. And through that, we've created an amazing community of musicians, a lot of whom didn't know Michael but now know of him because of these events. And it worked beautifully because my kids are amazing musicians because they've been surrounded by music.
Well, I never met Michael. I met you after he passed, but I don't remember how soon after the music night started that I started going, but it wasn't that long.
I think it was within the first year.
Yeah, it was. And to me, see, my musical path was through the blues community, acoustic blues. I went to Blues Week at Davis and Elkins College in Elkins, West Virginia, and that was just a week, but that was sort of music everywhere. You'd go to class, you'd everywhere you went, there were people playing music. There was more classes. It was music and people playing music 24 hours a day, and people didn't sleep and they drank. And it was, an incredible experience. And so music nights to me were like little Augustas, little blues weeks. It's not blues, of course, any kind of music, but, and your house is so welcoming and I mean, more music nights around the world would be obviously a really good thing, but you're so open and welcoming to anybody who comes in, and there'll be people playing acoustic music over here, and then maybe some electric guitar over here, and people singing over there, and the neighbors don't complain too often. You have a great relationship with all of them, but it's a fabulous camaraderie that we have, and that people have developed, and friendships too.
Yeah, I think what's kind of amazing to me is the idea was to keep music in the home after Michael died, and one of the many offshoots of this music night is I have all these amazing friends. And by opening my home and letting people come in and just play, the word got out. And so people come, and now they're all these friends. It's a great community where, we live in DC, and often the first question is, what do you do? How do you make your money? But not at music night. It's, hey, you want to play this song, or do you like this kind of music, or try this instrument, try this. And it brings people together in a really cool way, and everyone is invited. And if you're not a musician, you can shake an egg, you can shake a tambourine, you can dance, you can just listen, you can kick back, you can participate, you can just, whatever moves you is okay. And there are pockets of music all over the house. Fortunately, we've got this crazy house that does not have an open floor plan, so you can have pockets of music in each little room, and there's not this cacophony, so it works in a really cool way.
Yeah, it definitely works. It reminds me a little bit the spirit also, not just Blues Week, but I've been involved with the Archie Edwards Blues Heritage Foundation, which is the barber shop. Archie Edwards was a blues musician and used to cut hair at his barbershop, but on Saturday afternoons he would say, "Ain't cutting no more hair," and they'd start playing music for a while. And the thing that you said that reminded me of that is I went down there for years. I saw Archie a couple times, but he passed. But people would wander in with a guitar, without a guitar, young people, old people, black people, white people, and you'd sit down and you never knew what the hell anybody did kind of for a quote living.
Right, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just, hey, can you show me this lick on the harmonica or something like that? It's kind of a great unifier that way.
The other thing I've noticed is, living here in the suburbs and having children, once you get out of your 20s and you start your career and you start having kids, you spend a lot of people spend a lot of time going to sporting events for their kids. And they're watching a group of one gender, one age group run around a field, swim across a pool, chase a ball around. And music, everybody's invited. So, my kids, when they were young, could participate. Somebody who's in, their 80s can participate, 90s can participate, and everybody in between. It doesn't matter what shape you're in. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter the color of the skin. It doesn't matter your religion, your political beliefs. None of that matters. And you just enjoy and communicate in a really cool way, and you're brought together. It's a universal language.
Absolutely. So, one of the things also that I think everyone admires about you is you are so open with that. I mean, it's one thing we've had house concerts and people come into your house and you don't necessarily know them. They're friends of friends or whatever, but, you invite everybody and it kind of doesn't matter who they are. You're not worried about that on music nights. Never.
Yeah, there's room for everyone.
And and for some and somehow there are never really any issues.
There have never been any issues, because everyone's there to get along and have a good time and learn something from somebody else.
And I think that's, when we talk about, wouldn't it be great to have more gigs around the world? I mean, music nights are something that a lot of people could do if they kind of just thought about it, knew a few people who played music to invite over, and then invited more people. Every little bit, I think, kind of helps that way. So with your Up With People background, and you told me there are how many alumni of Up With People?
Like 22,000.
22,000 people.
All over the world.
All over the world who've been through this experience, which is a phenomenal experience. And I guess, in some ways you add on top of that everybody who ever played music in their lives and went to conservatory and sang barbershop and did all that. And there's jillions of musicians, music lovers. I mean, I think everybody is really a music lover. So, and probably a lot of those Up With People alumni who had that spark and that feeling still have it.
Yeah, and I think what I've found is that people had that when they were in their 20s, and then they had to become serious, and they had to get the job, and then they had to drive the kids to soccer, and they had to do all the, yard work and everything else, and they left that spark behind. And it doesn't take that much to uncover it and bring it back. And that's where I think the Planetary Gig Society can help, is give people ideas on how to bring that spark back and take one step, whatever that step is. Have a music night, go to a concert, get out of your comfort zone and get back into who you were before. Remember who you were, because you don't always have to be driven and serious. You can have fun, enjoy the journey. Yeah. Life is short. I mean, I learned that through my husband. He died far too early, and it's important to enjoy the journey.
So I'll just go ahead here and make a little plug for the Planetary Gigs Society website that we've been developing. There's a lot of information there. I mean, this is not the only place for information about music, and I tell you, there's so many sites and so many musicians and so much going on, but we've tried to put together a short list of some music organizations that promote musicians and music. There are a number of house concert networks people may want to get involved in. house concerts. One of the house concert networks a couple of them put out really good books or PDFs on how you do a house concert. And there's also a lot of resources there's a lot of research now about music and the brain, and I think music is even more powerful and more us than we even appreciate. And certainly, when you connect with people through music at music nights, it's just so special. I mean, it's like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think it's really important for people to tap into that joy and not to forget that it's not that hard. It's not that hard to jump out and do something that brings you together with somebody else. Not everybody's a musician, but music brings people together no matter if you're a musician or you just enjoy it. And I think that's really the important things, because a lot of people who feel like, well, I have to be a musician to participate, or I used to play the guitar. There are a lot of people that I talk to who say, I used to play the guitar.
Yeah,
I played
me too.
in college, and it's been, it's been in the closet, and now I went to medical school and I have children, and I don't play anymore, and that's for other people, and it's not for me, and that's not serious, and I've got to, be a parent and be a professional, and you know what? You also need to tap into the joy of who you were, because that person's still there.
Yeah, it's therapeutic. Same thing happens to me, and somebody says, well, I played guitar, all through my teenage years and in college, and I don't really play anymore. And I think, wow, I'm so jealous, because, you knew how to play as a kid. You spent a lot of time playing. You could pick it up, and within a short amount of time, you could be where I am. I've just picked it up recently, but what an advantage! What a great thing that you had, and you can bring back.
But I think people often think of music like they do sports, right? Oh, I used to play soccer in college, and I used to do this and that, and now I'm not fit like I was before. But start where you are, because before I was a lawyer, I was a personal trainer. And you need to start where you are. So if you haven't been running in years, start with a walk. If you haven't picked up the guitar, start with one chord. Play one chord. Play one chord for 1 minute. Put it back down. Start with something.
That's really good advice. Let me also ask you about something that you've started up, kind of complementary with the Planetary Gig Society as part of the website, but the We'll Be There Foundation. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Sure. So the We'll Be There Foundation, this was a brainchild when I went to our Up With People reunion and met one of my castmates, and she really wanted to send her daughter to travel and Up With People, but it's expensive. And I thought, well, let's put together a foundation that will provide scholarships to kids who want to travel and Up With People or do camp Up With People. And so we started with that. And so we're getting ready to kick off the first scholarship award. We're having the committee review the applications this week, and we've got 2 applicants, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting that it was an idea and now it's a reality, and we're hoping to expand it to not just Up With People for this cast, but for others as well.
Nice.
And see if we can get more kids involved.
Yeah, that's great. It's just, as you say, it's an indication of just the first step. If you get it going, I'm sure it would be nice to have some large donors who could help out with that, and you could spread that quite a ways. From what I see from the Up With People cast members that I saw and lived with, spent time with, what a great thing for them to do. What a great thing for people to do. Everybody in the whole world should be with Up With People.
Really? Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. It takes the edge off. It makes people more understanding. And what I've found in visiting my cast members now, 30 years later, one of the things that they say they learn from that experience is to accept people how they are without judgment. Just accept them for who they are, everybody. And it just makes your life easier. Just kind of move through with acceptance and love.
That's sort of a spiritual lesson right there. So I don't know if there anything else you wanted to mention on the that we haven't talked about. I mean, it's just, I think it's amazing what you're doing. We don't call you the goddess of awesomeness for nothing. You really get things done. You make things happen. I'm so happy to be your friend and working with you on these kind of shared passions. It means a lot. And just thanks very much for everything you do, and really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I think in closing, the message is start where you are and do something that brings you joy. And if it's music, awesome. If it's something else, do it. But don't forget what brought you joy and keep that going.
All right. That's awesome. Great. Thanks very much, Tara. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. You've been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music and musicians, resources about the power of music, books, movies, articles, including new research on music and the brain. We welcome your support. The Planetary Gig Society is a Section 501c3 charitable organization, and you can donate on the website. You also can receive a free email signature block demonstrating your support for Planetary Gig Society. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Planetary Gigs. And we want to thank fabulous musician and teacher Eric Weinberg of Little Eric Studios for the Planetary Gig Talk music titled Chill Kid, It's Saul. So please check out Planetary Gig Talk on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Subscribe and hear all the upcoming episodes. Thanks very much.